All right, guys, and welcome to episode 4 of the Midfield 4 podcast. We are back for another episode. Got a lot to talk about today, mainly going to be talking about everything that's happened in Europe over the last few days. It's been pretty mental, to be fair. We said the exact same last time, but really never disappoints. So we'll crack on with that in a minute. We've got a few other things to talk about as well. A few rumours surrounding Kylian Mbappe today that we want to address is one of the other main things. So we'll get straight into it. So I'll introduce my other 3 hosts back again. Matt, how are you?
Pretty good, thank you, mate. How are you?
Yeah, not too bad, not too bad. We actually won this week, which was an absolute miracle. So football's actually all right. Demille, how you doing?
Yeah, I'm dying of laughter, mate.
This recording session has not gone to plan.
Sorry, lads.
Multiple days off.
Do you know what? I'm actually had a good week, you know. So yeah.
Good to hear. Finally, Tay, this pod will be wrapped up by now if it wasn't for you. How are you doing?
Yeah, I'm good, man. Yeah, I'm good. Thank you. Thanks for having me back and waiting for me. It's an absolute pleasure to be back with you boys. You know that.
So good. No context pod there. Anyway, as normal, we're going to start with the quiz. It's a big week this week after the Mills absolutely horrific showing last week. He's convinced that he's picked some questions that none of us are going to get. So we'll see. So you're far away. See if we can.
Like, you're a football geek, so.
Yeah, well, Tay only got one off me.
I'm expecting to get them all wrong, you know.
Okay, well, I'll start.
We go again. See what you got.
Cool. So yesterday, we witnessed one of the best games of the season in the Champions League when Real Madrid beat City on aggregate 6-5, which is one of the highest scoring ties on aggregate. The question is, do you know what match had the highest scoring goals in terms of, on aggregate in the whole tie? You get 1 point for the score, 1 point for the teams, but you have to get both teams included, and 1 point for what round it was.
Okay.
I'll repeat that one more time.
Yeah, is that of all time?
Yeah, I'll repeat it one more time. Do you know what match had the highest scoring goals in the tie on aggregate? 1 point for the score, 1 point for the teams, and 1 point for what round it was.
Is this all time or this season?
Of all time.
That's ridiculous. What?
If it's not what I think it is, then,
It's tough. All right, go on.
Cool. Question 2. You should all get this one, to be fair. Bayern Munich obviously won the 10th league in a row. The question is, who was the last team to win the Bundesliga after Bayern? That's just one standard point. Question 3. Who were last year's winners of the Women's UEFA Champions League, and a bonus point if you can guess the team with the most amount of titles in that competition? And so you can get an extra bonus if you know the record amount as well for that team.
I know this one. I'm very confident.
Oh, I know a few teams it could be. I'm not exactly sure which.
The record one is here. Well, from a men's point of view, if I'm right, I think it's a dark horse. So.
Fair enough. Question 4. When was the last time Ronaldo failed to reach 20 league goals in a season? An extra point if you can guess the amount he actually finished on.
Last time he didn't get 20 goals?
Last time he didn't get 20 goals.
I actually think I know this.
Is this in England?
No, this is in league, just the whole league. In every country he's been in. So he's obviously been in 3 leagues, played in Serie A, and the league as well.
That's a tough one.
When was the last time Ronaldo failed to reach 20 league goals in a season?
I'm just thinking before he won the Ballon d'Or, surely. I don't really know.
Bonus point if you know the amount he finished on. Question 5, and the last question. Who has the most appearances in League 1 history? And a bonus point if you can guess how many he has. I'll give the point. Hold on. I'll give the point to the closest.
I was going to say exactly 643.
Wow, that is hard. All right, they were solid. Fair enough.
I'm looking forward to the answers.
Do you want any repeated?
If anyone gets less than 2, then where's your shame? Anyway, we'll get straight on with it. So, where do we even start with this week of European games? We'll start with Liverpool, Villarreal. This seems an absolute age ago after everything that's gone on. But Liverpool safely through to the final. Not too much to say. Obviously, I'll come to you, Tay. A bit of a scare in the first half. To be fair, Villarreal played very, very well, but really wanted his road to the final. Mane upgraded, and then I'm very kidding. You must have been scared at half time.
Yeah, I would be honest. I was it wasn't the best first half, was it? Let's be honest. But I was sat in the pub with my mates watching it, and I think we were all, for some reason, there was just this mutual agreement that for some reason we were going to come out a completely different team in the second half. With all due respect to them, and the way they play, which was much better than us in the first half. Don't get it wrong; they are a top team, but we just have a lot more than them. We have a lot more options on the bench. Like, look at the way a few substitutes at half time changed the game. So even with 2-0 down, to be honest, I was pretty confident. But yeah, like, wasn't ideal, and it doesn't fill me with confidence going forward. But that's Champions League football for you, I guess.
Diaz changed the game, then, didn't he? I think I think Klopp usually gets most things right, but I think starting Jota over Diaz was a bad decision. And he swallowed his pride and sorted it out at half time, and then he changed the game straight away.
Yeah. I mean, with Diaz, it's like he's not always going to come on and get you a goal and an assist. I mean, but he did, he did the week. But it's what's different to him, and he gives us a completely new dynamic. It's what Mane of 3-4 years ago had. It was the will to drive at players and test defenders, test the fullbacks, and throw anything into the box. He's so tenacious, and I think that's what people love about him. I mean, I can say that's what I love about him. I don't know about you neutrals, but every time you watch him, he's probably, arguably right now, he's probably the weakest of our front three of Mane and Salah. But, I'd argue he's easily the most electric to watch. And look at the way he changed the game with just his energy. Like, that signing in January has got to be, I know I saw debates about it over the week, but I wouldn't say the best January signing ever, because that's ridiculous. But given the situation we could be in a month's time, I don't see why that's not in the conversation, because he's completely straightened our season. I think if we don't sign him, we're not in the situation we are now in any position, in any competition, personally.
Yeah, completely agree. Like I said, if you go on to win a treble or something like that, you could definitely argue that he's had the impact that he has to level up the levels that you were already hitting to an even higher level. Yeah, there's not too much to say on that. I mean, we all thought the tie was done anyway, but Villarreal did put up a good fight. So you were safely through to the final in the end to play Real Madrid unbelievably. Like, genuinely, something about the Champions League. If you put a list of all the best games of the last 5 years, just in football,
it's right up there, isn't it?
But I mean, just all of them are in this competition. Like, it's unbelievable the amount of drama it cooks up, and this was right up there with the best I've ever seen. Obviously, I'm too young to remember 1999, but I heard the commentator make a comparison, and I could imagine it was just absolutely spectacular. I could not quite believe what I saw. Where do we even start? Demil, I'll come to you. Where do you even start with this game?
Honestly, you have to start the first leg. I mean, what a game that was. And for it to continue on to the second leg, I mean, absolutely amazing tie. The first leg, City should have put the game easily to bed. They had so many chances, and they should have, won it at that time, at that tie. But Real Madrid just have this way of staying in this competition and this mentality, and wow, like, I feel like Champions League it's just for them. Like, I don't know any other club that could do that. Do you know what I mean? Like, even Liverpool, like the greatest of teams, if you don't have that mentality, you can't stay in that. You've seen it against Chelsea, we've seen it against PSG, and now you're thinking Man City, they've got the better quality in both attack and defence. You think they could easily put Real Madrid to the sword, and they did. They cut Real Madrid open in the first half, in the first leg, plenty of times, but they couldn't finish their dinner.
I don't think you can blame the defending for the goals on the reason they've lost that tie. It's just the missed chances, like you said. They had so many
missed chances, and that's the reason ultimately why they weren't able to go through to the final. From a neutral's point of view, absolutely sensational tie. One of the best I've ever seen. I remember thinking at I think it's 75 minutes to go of the second leg. I'm thinking, I don't know, Real Madrid could nick a goal here, but they haven't had a shot on target. They don't look like they're gonna score at any time. And then once Marvel scores, like 5 minutes later, you're thinking, yeah, fair enough, they're done. They deserve to go through. Man City Liverpool final. What a showdown that will be. The two greatest teams in Europe. But Real Madrid just had his way, and because Carlo Ancelotti raising the eyebrow, got him to win. Got him to score 2 goals in 2 minutes.
Right, it's mental. That tweet format is hilarious, by the way. But honestly, the route that Madrid have had to take to get to this final is absolutely spectacular. Like, in every single tie, they've looked down and out. 2-0 down against PSG in the first leg. They threw away that 3-1 lead against Chelsea. And, when Chelsea got the third goal and took the lead, you were thinking, mentally, that's so hard to come back from. But they managed to do it. And then this just topped the lot. I mean, obviously, we'll talk about the final in a minute, but it just feels like the stars have aligned for Madrid to go on and win this. Even if Liverpool are definitely the better side on paper, but like everything's just falling into place. It's unbelievable. But the goals, the first goal was pretty impressive. The ball across is so intelligent for Benzema to flick it back, and Rodrigo just nicked in front of Ederson. Not sure you can blame Ederson too much there. It's just very smart attacking play. And I mean, the second goal as well, it's just the perfection of it, really. Like, maybe if City would have cleared that cross away from Carvajal, they wouldn't have got the second goal, just because they'd have or even if Ederson would have caught it, they would have took the pressure off a little bit. But, straight after for Carvajal, who, is declining a bit, but he's got such good pedigree. That cross, perfection. Honestly, perfection. It was a brilliant header from Rodrigo, who obviously isn't known for heading the ball. But
and it came off a deflection.
It did, but it was very slight. It didn't take that much off it, but honestly, it was incredible and such a good watch. Obviously, extra time, I feel like as soon as Benzema scored that penalty, it was done. Like, City had that one chance with the Foden header, which then Fernandinho missed, but you just, even as good as they are, I just never felt like they were coming back into it. Like you said, mentality is so big in this competition, and this mental block for City is just getting even worse and worse, and I'm sure they will go on to win it eventually, but it must be so hard to get over these sort of things, because first of all, it was the quarterfinals. They managed to get over that. Then they lost in the final. Then they've lost this game, which looks impossible to lose at one point. Matt, I'll come to you. What did you make of it? Have you got anything to add?
Insanity, to be honest. Like, it's so hard to put your finger on what it is, because of course it's mentality and stuff, but you can't just win games from mentality. But Real Madrid, I mean, I think whatever way you paint it, of course, City, from a City perspective, of course, they missed those chances. But to be like 5-3 up in the 88th minute, and I think the second the first goal goes in, it's pretty chalked, with how Real Madrid have been.
Do you reckon?
But yeah.
No one really thought they were scoring again.
I don't think they were scoring again.
When I didn't expect it so quickly after, when I saw 6 minutes at a time, I thought, yeah, this is, this is just, with how Real Madrid have been this whole tournament, it's just been insanity, really. But I mean, one thing I would say, I don't know how possible this is, really, given, not trying to take anything away from Real, but the ref. I don't know how possible it would be for City to game manage in the game with the ref. But if you obviously flip positions, Real Madrid in that position with a few minutes left, City aren't going to see the ball at all. You're just going to see fouls after fouls after fouls, because that extra time period, of course, City were beaten mentally, but as soon as they went one down, you hardly saw the ball in play, because it was just free kick after free kick after free kick and just time wasting. And it's just so hard to put your finger on it, really, because on one perspective, you're like, you got a few minutes left, conceding 2 is like just inexcusable. But then on the other hand, you're like, you're just playing the most odd Real Madrid team ever. Like, the name of Real Madrid just somehow carries a team to that stage. It's like, I've never really seen anything like it. And I mean, fair enough, they keep proving haters or doubters wrong throughout, and it's just so hard to even say, to be honest.
It's just what Ethan said earlier, pedigree. That's it. Like, there's no bigger mentality monsters in world football, and that have the pedigree. Everyone that club knows from top to bottom what that club means and what that club stands for, and that is absolutely terrifying from my point of view. But
yeah,
it sounds weird, but pedigree, that's literally Real Madrid. Like,
I know all teams do it, but every team does this. But the shirts with the 14 on, it's just like shakes you up a bit, doesn't it? Like, I know, like, every team would have done it. I'm sure City would have had similar things, but just
what was one on?
Hey,
what was the number 1 on?
They had the And I think one of the
Scott
commentators
Carson
made
kits
the
are going
point
out
that.
everywhere.
But Real Madrid will go into this final, and we'll come on to this now. They'll go into this final knowing they're going to win. I mean, obviously, I'm not saying that's going to happen, but like losing isn't even an option for them. You know, if City would have gone through, they'd have been like, oh, you know what, Liverpool are a great team. You know, we'll try, but like they think there's a possibility they might lose. Obviously, they're not going to sort of think exactly like that. But Real Madrid are just different in that sense. Like they won't even think about the possibility of losing this game. And I think they will lose this game. Like as mad as that sounds, I think Liverpool. I can't even decide if Real Madrid are good or not. Like genuinely, like what they've achieved is incredible, but tactically, I'm still not sure. And Ancelotti, you know, I've criticised him before, but he did get it pretty much spot on against City. But whether he can go toe to toe with Klopp, I don't know. So obviously, it's very early, and there's a month to think about it. But early thoughts, Tay, on the final.
Maybe in a month's time, I'm going to look back on this and really regret it, but. I fancy our chances more against Madrid than I do City, and I don't know why. It's just a feeling.
They are a better team, aren't they?
Man City are a much better team, and I'd argue we're a much better team than Real Madrid. But I think in one-off games like this, it doesn't really matter at all. It is terrifying to be honest. But then maybe I'm just being a pessimist there. But the idea of losing a Champions League final to Real Madrid again, yeah, I mean that's horrible. You don't want to lose at all. But the idea of losing to City is much worse. So, you know, I've already won, really. City can't win it. No, I'm terrified. I'm terrified, but I think we're the better team. But again, I don't know how much weight that holds in a game like a Champions League final, you know, with Real Madrid. Like you said, they haven't even thought about the possibility of losing this game. Like the possibility. And I think we you know, we should really get our own back on them from a few years ago. And we are a completely different team, and as are they, you know. So I think it's going to be one of the most not sought after, but I don't think there's a real favourite for the game, to be honest, at all. And maybe that's me being a pessimist again, but
no, I think it's quite even because, you know, like Real Madrid have got these players, they've got the experience, you know, and they've done it, like I said, 3 times from the dead. So, you know, even if Liverpool are 1-0 up with 10 minutes to go, it's not done. Like you never know.
That's what scares me. Like you say, how it's almost like the stars have aligned. When we came back against Barcelona, I know we had Tottenham, with all due respect, a good Tottenham team in the final. I was very, very, very scared, but I was 99% sure that
it's a similar scenario, isn't it? Because you watch that game, even though Tottenham had done the same thing,
it wasn't. Yeah,
you just sort of knew.
I think every neutral know that Liverpool were not losing that game. Like against Tottenham, like after the Champions League run we had, and we'd had previously and fallen like the final hurdle the year previously. I think everyone knew that year we were not going to lose that game, and I feel like that's, you know, with all due respect to them, that's the a very, very, very similar, if not better, run than Real Madrid have had this year. So it's all about momentum, isn't it? And I think what happens for the rest of the league season is going to impact our final performance as well. I'd arguably I think as much as, you know, as bad as this could be, I'd actually argue losing the league to City, which I think will happen now, might benefit us in a way. Obviously, you want to win everything, don't you? And I know all the players want to win everything. This is the hungriest group of Liverpool players and most competitive I've ever seen. But, you know, for this Liverpool team, you look at what they've won. They have not, for one of the, I would say they're one of the best English sides ever. They haven't won anywhere near enough to be in that category, unfortunately. And I think this season is massively make or break. So I know they want it, but it's just, you know, Real Madrid, they're different, aren't they? Like, There's no.
I just wanted to ask you before. I just want to talk about a few individuals after, but I think it was Courtois speaking in the media about the fact that you've got everything to play for in the next sort of, I think it's 5 or 6 matches.
Yeah.
And they're literally on the beach now because they've secured the title. However, I don't know if that's a positive.
Obviously, I agree with you. I don't know how much of a positive that is.
Yes, we might be mentally after. However, like they're not going to really be playing any games with the same intensity or stuff to play for than you are.
We've got 7. Is it 7 or 8 more games this season, and every single one of them is a cup final
in the league. And
there we go. Sorry, so every single one of them is a cup final. Like the mentality in this group to keep like nicking wins and stuff is, again, it's the best I've seen from a Liverpool team. Like you said, there might be deemed as a positive rest wise, but mentality, I maybe I'm wrong, but I can't see that as a positive for Madrid at all. I don't know where you were standing on that. But
I agree with that. Don't you boys agree, Matt? What would you rather be?
Yeah, I agree. No, I'd rather be Liverpool. You want to be playing to the highest potential you can. It's basically just dress rehearsals. You want to be, as match fit as ready to go, leading up to that final. And the best way to do that is playing competitive matches. Real Madrid, they've wrapped up the title already, and as Tay said, Liverpool's got all the cup finals to go. So
I think it's a matter of momentum versus excessive amounts of rest, which isn't necessarily what you want. Obviously, they're not going to rest throughout, but mentally, they know they've won the league. They can't be like, all right, we're going to play this as like not a training game for City per se, for Liverpool per se, but you can't have that same mentality of, the league's on the line.
No, 100%. Just before we move on from Champions League, just want to speak about a few individual performances on Real Madrid. Obviously, Benzema, I think Real Madrid has got 14 goals in this knockout stage. He's got 10 of them. It's just absolutely outrageous.
Rodrigo must have 3.
Rodrigo's got 3, and one for Vinicius in the second leg first leg against City. But Benzema is a joke. We spoke about it before. We don't need to go into it. But I hope he wins the Ballon d'Or because he has been absolutely outrageous. Another one I want to shout out is Nacho because I thought he was phenomenal in this game. Like, Alaba was out and everyone thought, that's going to be a big loss. But every time Nacho stepped in for Real Madrid, he's been phenomenal, incredibly underrated play.
That's absolutely spot on. I was saying this to my friend literally at the pub yesterday. I don't know what it is about him, but every time I've seen him play, and that may be 7-8 times, he doesn't, never misses a beat at all. Like, I don't know where he's been his whole career. I know he's been there, but every time I've watched him play, whether that was against Chelsea last year, whether it's against Liverpool as well last year, he stepped in again against Liverpool and he was sublime in both legs. Again, he was so good again yesterday. And, this is what worries me about them. How much do we actually know about them? Like, look at the way they their backup centre half is putting in clinics in the Champions League semi-final, and look at Camavinga with the bench in both legs, electric. Rodrigo scored about 2 goals all season until about a week ago. Now he's on like 6 or 7. It's frightening. It's absolutely terrifying. This and our squad depth is good. Arguably better than theirs, but even players like Valverde and stuff, there's so much there, and these are all most of them have won the Champions League before, and it's terrifying. But every time I watch him, Nacho would have won it how many times? At least 3 times.
Yeah.
Like he's not. I don't know where he's been, but he looks like a £50 million centre back every time I've watched him play.
Yeah, it's mental how you got that sort of player waiting in the wings. But like you said, Camavinga was phenomenal. Honestly,
Special.
I feel like he really announced himself. Like, everybody knew he was good, but the whole world's watching that game. And he was absolutely phenomenal when he came on. Really, really announced himself. Proper breakthrough performance. And obviously he's been consistently good. But when you turn up like that, when literally everyone's watching, it's going to do a lot for you. And he was brilliant. Rodrigo,
you know what as well?
Fantastic. Go on.
His profile, which is really rare as well. Like, nowadays, that who's just so good in practically every aspect. Like, the ball played initially, I think it was to Benzema for the first goal. His ball retention, getting free kicks. Just everything about his game. He's an engine. He's ridiculously technical. Like, he's so young as well, and he plays so much older. Like, you've got ridiculous.
Him and Valverde are everything you want in a modern day central midfielder.
Literally, they're seeing the end of like typical midfield three, and they've got them waiting in the wings. Like, even though they're on a supposed bad period in their sort of history, they're still winning trophies left, right, and centre, and they've still got these players coming in to replace the old guard. It's outrageous, a truly outrageous football club, to be honest, and it's going to be a great final. So, I'm sure we'll talk about it a bit more nearer the time, but that's all we've got time for now on the Champions League. We'll just speak about the other competitions quickly. Rangers was the game I watched tonight, and I was really taken aback by it. It was absolutely brilliant. Rangers are a club that pretty much did go into liquidation, got relegated to the 4th tier of Scottish football. I think it was about 15 years ago now. And in the last 2 years, they've won the Scottish League title for the first time in, I think it was 9 years, and now they've won. Well, they've got to the Europa League final. A hell of an achievement, especially considering they had a manager change pre-season, in middle of the season. Sorry, and to beat Leipzig, who were the clear favourites for the competition, 3-1. Without even breaking a sweat. And Nkunku scored, but that's one of the only chances they had in the whole game. Rangers were phenomenal, and the difference in quality between the two squads is beggars belief. Do many Rangers players get in Leipzig's team? Probably not, but Ibrox on a European night was incredible. The atmosphere sounded bouncing, and I'm so pleased for the fans because they deserve it. Matt, did you tune into this game tonight, or were you more focused on one of the others?
Initially, I went across the board, to be honest, because we've got quite a few massive European importance games. I watched, I think, second half, or pretty much ever since Frankfurt scored and things were looking a bit bitter for West Ham, I changed over. I switched, I say, in general, but it's just, I tweeted out a few days ago how much mentality and stuff comes into European tournaments. I was referring only to Champions League, but it's actually insane when you think about it, because this Rangers group of players, they're incredibly determined and hardworking, but they're not superstars, as you said, with the Leipzig point. And you've got this ground, which is got to be one of the most intimidating things to come up against as a rival. You're not a rival, a position. You're just don't know what to do with it, really. Just absolutely bouncing all night. The commentary is funny, to be fair, hearing it from Manucho, because I always find it, when it's that English commentary, it always annoys me, but when it's Scottish commentary, I don't know, I just find it funny. They're so
Who was on today?
infused.
Was it Ali McCoist?
Ali McCoist, and
He's good though.
it's just so funny because they don't hide their bias at all from it. Usually, with English commentators, you just be a bit annoyed listening to them with the bias and stuff. But with Scottish, it was shocking, absolutely shocking. And at one point, I don't know if I've raised it on this pod, I thought I'd just quickly say, I'll never understand why they don't get journalists from respective games on to give a different perspective. It never makes sense to me.
Yeah, for sure. But Rangers onto the final, an absolutely incredible achievement. I think this will do massive amounts for the SPL's reputation, to be honest, because people say, Rangers wouldn't cut it in the Premier League, they get relegated. However, they've beat Borussia Dortmund, they've beat Red Star Belgrade, they beat Braga, now they beat RB Leipzig. They're in a European final. I think it's just disrespectful to say they wouldn't cut it in the Premier League when we've got teams like Everton that are probably going to stay up.
Even Celtic's manager was talking about how I'm sorry, I can't pronounce his name. I'm sorry, but he had a press conference midweek and he said talking about the Scottish Premier League and said look, it's Rangers, but this is a very good thing for Scottish football. It's going to obviously more money, more talent. Because I can guarantee you, a lot of people, with all due respect, Spanish, German teams, whatever, like Leipzig fans, Dortmund fans, a lot of them probably hadn't even heard of Rangers, and that sounds stupid, but now they're in a cup, in a European final. That's absolutely crazy. And I don't know when the last time that was. It must have been. I don't even know.
Like 2007 or
2008.
2008, yeah.
Zenit. Yeah. Just before everything sort of fell down, but they lost that. The manner they've done it as well, because they didn't have. Obviously they've got a talented squad, but they didn't really have the money to spend. Like you say, a matter of years ago, they were back in the fourth tier of English football. Celtic had won 10 in a row, 9 in a row, and it was just they're not going to win the league this season, but. Even to get to a final, even to lose it, it's done absolute bits for them. And manager change mid-season. How often do you see that happen? You can't fault them. You can't fault them whatsoever. I saw something earlier. I said Gerrard's left mid-season and they're in a Europa League final. But there you go. What can you do?
Spooky times.
Van Bronckhorst has done brilliantly to pick up the pieces, though, and take them this far. Can't even put into perspective how incredible of an achievement it is. And I've just realised I've massively dug Everton out there. No offense to I'm just saying, the level of team that Everton are right now, you cannot say to me that this Rangers team would get relegated in the Prem. It's just a load of rubbish.
With the money that Everton have as well.
Yeah. Like if United went to Ibrox this weekend, we'd lose. Like,
You know what though?
It's not
Like, it's such a tough thing because it would just be like another hilarious away trip, really. Like Ibrox to another level. Like, you know, it'll be like a Brentford 2.0 or but like a 2.0.
Get them down there, man. We've got Swansea and Cardiff. We should get them all down there.
It would be interesting, but that's a debate for another day. But yeah,
That's not a fun travel trip, to be fair, playing them and then like
especially for like
London on. Oh god, that's awful. Yeah.
But yeah, respect Rangers, respect Celtic. They're better than you think, seriously, and that's a hell of an achievement. And they will play Frankfurt, who destroyed West Ham's dream in the end. Another red for Aaron Cresswell, which was a red in my opinion. But yeah, 2 red cards for him. I do feel for him because he's been brilliant for them, and it's quite unfortunate. But you know, after that went in and they scored right after, to be honest, I turned the game off at half time and watched the second half of the Leicester game, so I knew it was done. But it's unfortunate for West Ham because they were brilliant throughout the whole tournament, but just fell short. And, you know, they're probably a bit too far in the lead to re-qualify for Europa, but it's devastating for them. But, you know, they've done fantastically and it is unfortunate. I mean, Matt, I know you spoke about this, but it was quite strange, their team selection at the weekend.
Baffling, honestly. Like, obviously I'm an Arsenal fan, right? So I'm going to want West Ham away to be an easy game where they play a weaker team. But just from a logical perspective, they played a weak side against Chelsea. They benched Rice, Bowen, Antonio, etc. They're playing Kurt Zouma, who's been back for about a week, who's just played against Frankfurt and will play again the week after, who was meant to be out for the season. Like, it's so baffling because you saw them out against Frankfurt and they did just look tired. They didn't look like a team which ever were going to get onto Frankfurt. And Frankfurt, I thought I'd just mention, obviously, you know, their fans are outrageous and such, but home, they're not meant to be good at all. They're very inconsistent. I think they've won, 6 out of 17 or something at home now, which is crazy to think. And West Ham just didn't lay a glove on them, really. And it really is just such a confusing decision because when you think of it logically, fair enough, Moyes didn't expect United to beat Brentford so convincingly, but in the same notion, West Ham, the best they could have got was 6th place. That was the best they could have got. And United now would pretty much have to lose all their games and West Ham would have to win all theirs to get top 6. It's just not worth it throwing your biggest game in decades. Not throwing your biggest game, but ultimately throwing it with resting all these players. Not resting with these players, the opposite.
The squad is so thin though, isn't it?
Yeah. It's impossible.
That's another fault.
I feel bad for him because he's trying to balance, you know, a very deep Europa League run alongside a couple of cup runs as well, plus the league. Because obviously, if you go out the Europa League, you're then relying on the league to get back into Europe. I mean, even if it's Conference League, they're still going to want to be in Europe again next season. And I think you've just got to look at the investment in the team in the summer. I can't remember who they signed in the summer. I think it was just Vlasic and a couple more. Vlasic and
Krau, I think his name.
Krau, but he's barely played.
Yeah, exactly.
Not been great. Dawson on a permanent, but he was already there. I mean, I don't know how they possibly expected him to, you know, because going far in the Europa League would have been a realistic aim. I think, you know, the fact that they got to the semis and they will get top 7 is still a ridiculous achievement because, you know, obviously you want to rest players for Europa, but if you had a stronger squad in the league to go and play in the league games and, you know, you've got more chance of winning, I guarantee you a lot of the points they've dropped have been in between the Europa League games or a week after, you know, the typical, you know, Thursday evening, then Sunday afternoon away game, you know, that just always ends up losing. I think
you know what as well.
I
thought I'd just say, when you think of it, of course they've got quite a few durable players, but they've also got quite a few injury-prone players in that starting 11. Antonio's suffered with a lot of injuries. Zuma's, I think he's had quite a few injuries. Ogbonna's had a few injuries. Diop has been out a decent amount. And I don't think I'm talking rubbish there. I think that is
Diop's been in and out of team. Ogbonna's obviously out for season.
I think Ogbonna's done his ACL
twice. He's been out for ages. But the thing is with Antonio, he's the absolute worst. I think selling Sebastian Haller and not replacing him was just suicide for him, to be honest. Because the guy was so good first half of the season. He looked incredible, but second half of the season, I don't want to be too hard. Obviously, it's not his fault, but he has been borderline useless up top for them because he just can't do anything.
He's been running
games. You know what? I'd say aside from his goal contributions, he's still a really useful asset, and like the way he makes space for players,
Of course,
the
but
way
it's
he
half the
takes
player he was,
defenders.
right?
But like when you put it logically, you put an injury-prone player playing 2 games a week quite a few times because Prem schedule for one, COVID stuff, and now Europa. It's just not going to work at all for him.
The role he has to play in that team as well, he's obviously naturally going to get quite tired out easily, and then he's being asked to play like 2 games a week for so long. I mean, this is a completely different argument because it's Ronaldo, but if you look at Ronaldo 1 game a week in the last few weeks, like it's such a difference. And a 1 game a week Antonio we've seen is a phenomenal player. Like, was it this season or last season he won the first player of the month? So like, at the start of the season, when obviously there isn't many games, I think it was this season, wasn't it? He got the first player of the month.
Yeah.
Playing 1 game a week, he was absolutely sensational. But by the end of the season, he was burnt out to the point where he literally, I watched him. I can't remember which game it is when they had 10 men. I think it was the first leg of the Lyon game when he was literally feeding off scraps up top with 10 men, just trying to run, and he just couldn't. So if they'd just bought a decent backup that could have rotated, it could have made a massive difference.
I think
they got a lot of money for Sebastian Haller as well.
Yeah, they haven't. I think the issue is with West Ham as well, is they're an incredibly one-dimensional side. They've done unbelievably well to get to where they are. No discrediting that, fair play. Like, I didn't expect them to get it with Europe because obviously their squad is so thin, and they haven't even utilised the depth they bought because either Moyes doesn't trust in them, stubbornness, or just they aren't good enough. But I've been very impressed with the fact they have, managed to get like top 7. It's kind of surprising, or top 8, that sort of area. But yeah, like their squad, the way of playing is so one-dimensional. Like they almost remind me of a Mourinho team, just trying to be really like big, bully, score a lot of corners, set pieces in general.
Yeah.
But aside from being a heavy set piece team, Antonio holding up the ball and stuff, you've got Souček, who's one of the most useless footballers around, aside from coaching. You've got Rice, who's unbelievable, and like fair enough. But like you don't have that, like, I guess, a Fornals type, but you just need more. Like, you just need more, really. And the way they play, as I say, it's very. We are incredibly well organised mid-block side.
What did Souček do to you, mate?
I don't know.
It's a harsh way to put it, but he's not been good this year, has he?
No.
I think goals clouded. You know what though? What kind of annoys me is not to go on at Souček. I apologise if he's listening. But if he had scored like 10 goals this season, you'd still have people being like, "Wow, he's such a good player." But now the goals have dried up. You realise how he's Scott McTominay's Czech brother.
Yeah, no, honestly, you realise, you start to realise and look at him on the pitch, and you think, what does he actually contribute to the team?
He's there, but you won't know what for.
Yeah, exactly. Like you think you know exactly what Vice is there for.
That's harsh.
No, you look towards Souček, and I'm like, where's he play? What does he do in terms of like build up, in terms of defensive actions?
Okay, besides Declan Rice, when was the last time you saw a West Ham midfielder as good as Thomas Souček?
Noble.
Yeah.
It was good.
Well, how
Fornals?
Mark Noble 5 years ago.
5 years ago.
I'm taking different players, obviously.
So
but
we're picking apart the best West Ham side in what, 10 years?
Yeah, no.
It's not like harsh. I'm just adding to what Matt said.
What I would say though, right, just not to completely slate on him, and I don't want to waffle about him, right, but I would say one thing he has done, which is amazing for West Ham, is how good they've been from set pieces. As I said, being that really tall side, their set piece record's been so good because they have so many big players that they're outnumbering their opposition in terms of who to mark, and it's just a mismatch all across the field when you have, like a 6-foot player versus a 6'5" player, because there's so many. They have Zuma 6'5", like Diop's very tall. They have etc. You get the point, but they're a very tall side, and that is one thing which definitely worked in their favour with set pieces and stuff. And yeah.
On West Ham quickly before we move on. Obviously, they haven't really got much to play for now the rest of the season. Do you think this season is the peak of West Ham? So I think they'll spend some money in the summer, but I also think there's a very big chance they could lose Declan Rice. And I think when that domino goes, I think the rest go with it, personally.
Bowen.
I agree. Definitely.
Bowen has to be sought after this summer, surely.
But I can't really see a team spending 60 million on him.
Do you not think he's worth 60 mil?
I do think he's worth 60 million, but I don't think there's a team other than Manchester United that could do with him.
Yeah, I get that.
I think that's way too smart of a signing for Manchester United, if I'm being honest.
But that's what I was going to say. This must be a massive, deflator, considering if they'd have won this game, they'd have, gone into the Champions League if they'd have won the final. But now
I think Rice would have stayed if they won.
But now they're set off for Conference League. They're sort of back to square one. They're not even back in the competition they were just in. And yeah, if players leave, they can spend as much money as they want, but replacing players like Declan Rice and Jarrod Bowen, they're the main two for me.
The question is though, just thinking like with Declan Rice, do West Ham have the facilities to say we want like 130 million for our man?
I think they
do. I think they
currently now. I think
because who's like, I think maybe like a Chelsea or a United, but obviously United with
point, isn't it? They don't want to lose him.
Yeah.
Who's buying him for that sort of money though? At the same time,
I think the second Chelsea get a chance to, they will.
But their owners in such a it's been an uncertain situation. I think it's finally going to get wrapped up this week or something like that. But is the first thing they do going to be spending like 130 million? Because they have to be. Not saying signing Declan Rice won't be a smart signing, right? Because signing him, Tuchemani, those sort of players, you're sorted in midfield for a good decade. But are they going to not feel a bit apprehensive about spending that sort of money on a player after Chelsea's recruitment in recent years?
I think every time big new owners come in, they like to make a statement, and I think Rice could be. I don't think they need Declan Rice necessarily. I think every team could do with one, but I don't think they need him necessarily. But I think he's good. I think he might be that marquee guy for them. Whoever comes in.
Yeah, I could definitely see that. That is just about enough on Europa. We will just touch on Conference League quickly. Mourinho's surpassed his best career achievement again by
Tommy.
He's going to act like he surpassed his career best achievement again by getting Roma to the final of a third-rate European competition.
Keep going.
But league isn't too bad for Roma. It's not actually that bad this season. Obviously, they overcame Leicester tonight. Leicester, another team that seemed to be, backpedaling a lot. They're looking at a bottom half finish now and no Europe. It's looking a bit more confident. We haven't got much time to talk about them because we have got other stuff to talk about.
Rogers has got to go though.
I'm sorry, it's embarrassing that they've managed to get away with the season they have.
Thank you, because it seems like no one's talking about it. But
it's because they had this competition to cling on to, though. But now that's gone. It is a real life.
Because they're Leicester, though. Obviously that title and stuff, but it's because they're Leicester. They're like, oh yeah, Leicester doing all this fantastic stuff. The players they have, no media's talking about what they've done.
The only thing I can say for Leicester in a good light is they have seemed to have been absolutely scrutinised with injuries for the past 2 years. And I do feel sorry for them in that sense. But some of the points and some of these scorelines they've conceded this season have just not been good enough. And I don't see it with Brendan Rodgers. He's a big game bottler. Like I say, he's not even got them Europe. He spent a bit of money. I think he's got to go.
It is one that we will talk about another time because we haven't really got time right now. But it's the question of where do they go from here. So stay tuned for that. We will get onto that in the coming weeks. And they will play. Roma will play Feyenoord in the final, who saw it out against a very impressive Marseille side this season. I was quite surprised by that one. So just quickly, do we expect Roma to get the job done? Feyenoord certainly won't be easy.
Yeah, I think they will.
I think they will. Mourinho will get the job dne.
Ethan Seaven.
Yeah.
He's let's be honest. He's one of the best managers in the game. Still.
Nice.
Oh no.
No. Still. He does have that pedigree. Like we're saying, pedigree sometimes counts over what has happened in previous or current times. And you really back. I said City back Mourinho to beat Marseille. And Roma side are a decent team. They've got Tammy, who's been unbelievable this season. Pellegrini, who's really technical. I really like him. Very great progressor of the ball. And they got strong defence. They got Smalling. I know you love Ethan.
Smalling European title.
You've won by
I feel like Jose's actually installed a solid unit at Roma, and I do actually fully back them to win the conference.
Even I can admit that, to be fair. It's a far more suited club for the current version of Jose Mourinho. rather than trying to run it back in the Prem, which is never going to work.
No.
But yeah,
he's going to shamelessly say it was better than any of his previous league titles.
I'm not ready for it. If he takes it humbly, then maybe I can have a bit more respect for him. But we'll see. But yeah, that's enough on that. We have overrun a little bit, unfortunately. We have got a few other things to talk about. An article came out today from, I think, La Parisienne saying Mbappe is going to stay at PSG.
No way. He's gone.
That was the case. You reckon he's still gone?
Yeah, I've never seen him more nailed on.
But I did think that, but the couple of noises I've heard recently is making me think. I don't doubt he will end up at Real Madrid one day.
He'll go to the Champions League winner.
Yeah, if I was him, I wouldn't be hanging about.
Flip a coin.
The custody of Mbappe match. No, I think he's as good as gone, unless he wants to stay with Neymar. But I don't see what Neymar.
I don't see in his position right now why he would stay. To be honest, I think.
I mean,
go on.
So he's 23 now, and the rumor is that he'll sign a 2-year contract. So by the time that contract's done, if he wants to move then, you'd be looking at 25, 26. He would have spent most of his time in a league where there's no real competition. And
is it even worth it for PSG though? Like, if they're giving him a 2-year contract, they're just going to keep him for 2 years and lose him on a free in 2024?
They take that though to be the side which wins the Champions League. Not that he'll do that per se.
Yeah, it's probably a short-term investment, really.
Yeah, PSG are so desperate to win the Champions League. I think just keep Mbappe, keep their hopes up. But in terms of Mbappe, in terms of for Mbappe, I feel like it's such a bad move, because you're going to spend over nearly a whole career, half your career at a league where there's literally no real competition, and all you're judged on is the Champions League, and you haven't delivered in Champions League as a collective. Obviously, your performance is not great, but prove yourself in the league, or play for Real Madrid, biggest team in the world.
Could you not flip it though? To say Real Madrid have just won the Champions League. If Mbappe goes and wins Real Madrid the Champions League, then okay, they just won the Champions League. They've won it this many times. Whereas if you go win PSG the Champions League for the first time, it's gonna be it's gonna do insane amounts for his legacy and stuff.
Yeah, I understand that. I don't think this current crop of PSG players will win it though.
No, they're not gonna. The only way I see him staying, I'm gonna go back on my answer. The only way I can see him staying is if Zidane comes in. Yeah. Which, because Pochettino will. I don't know if he's already gone, but he will not be there at the start of next season.
They need to have a better plan though. If they bring Pogba in, Pogba, Neymar, Messi, and Mbappe, that team is not winning the Champions League. I don't care how good it looks on paper. How about some pressing?
How about some non-FIFA Ultimate Team 11s? Yeah, I was going to say, that's a banging pro FIFA team, but it's not getting you any Champions League.
I'd love to know what PSG clearly don't have a plan, do they?
No, I don't know if they know. It sounds stupid. Obviously, they know more than me. Obviously, they do. But
do they?
Do they?
Yeah, that's exactly. I feel like they're just getting all the corners from a jigsaw and just stuffing them together. And it's like they're trying to make a roast dinner, but there's no veg on there.
But should they not have already planned?
They're smacking the roast potatoes on the plate and the gravy and everything, but you don't have the broccoli to go with it. And they're a bit like Man United in a sense, where they're a bit big headed, and they'll just sign marquee player. I love Messi. Messi's best player of all time for me. But did they need Messi? Did they need Messi?
Play the same sort of profile as Neymar as well. It made no sense on paper.
No sense whatsoever. I'm not saying it's been a bad time. I'm not saying it's been a bad signing, but they just, I don't think they know what they're doing over there. It goes to show one of their best players they've signed in recent years was Idrissa Gana Gueye, and he was one of the most low profile signings they've made. It says a lot about them.
They haven't signed a ball progressor midfielder ever.
Yeah, they're just weird, man. They're just weird. So. That Paredes signing was crazy. I'm not saying he's not a good player, but I don't know what he does there. You watch him, and it's he's a tough.
They've still got Ander Herrera on the books.
Yeah, exactly.
That's what I'm saying though. They just have workhorses. They don't have any progress. They don't have an Aouar or
they're 2017 Jurgen Klopp.
Are they literally playing Ultimate Team though? They just want 3 box-to-boxes in midfield and just give it to the 3.
Sorry, who's using Danilo Pereira in Ultimate Team?
Me? Honestly, I just don't get it. I can't see them winning the Champions League after, like, within the next 2 years. Like, I feel like every time they have a good summer, it goes, oh yeah, Hakimi's coming, Donnarumma's coming, and I feel like a lot of the time it's because people don't watch these players. Like, I thought, I don't want to say no because I think he's a good player, but I thought that the Hakimi thing was they needed to upgrade there, but I don't think it makes them a better collective unit as a team. Like I said, there's still no progressor there. There's still, there's still questions over like an actual goal scorer other than Mbappe. Like, let's be honest, in the summer they're going to get Pogba and Lukaku in, and they're going to do the exact same.
Imagine they get Lukaku. That's going to solve everything, isn't it?
You know what though, with PSG, like when you actually break down the transfer window, obviously on the name side of things, wow, amazing. They got a Ramos, injury prone. They got a Donnarumma where there was no problem with Navas in the slightest.
Exactly. Yeah, that annoys me. Navas is a better goalkeeper.
I agree.
Confusing. They got Nuno and Hakimi, and sure, if you're like a Liverpool, you know how to accommodate to two phenomenal attacking players. Good. If you don't, then you can get caught out in transition, and it's a bit tough for a young player like Nuno Mendes and then a young player like Hakimi.
Nuno Mendes.
There's no balance. It's quite funny though, to be honest.
Yeah, I just think if you're PSG with this Mbappe situation, would you not have already had a plan for him to go? Like, what's the plan for him to go, and why are they now?
I don't think PSG have a plan. I'll be honest.
No, that's what I mean. That's the point. And now, why are they? I dread to think the amount of money they'll throw at him. So
this is why they're chucking him so much money, because
whether he goes or not, it doesn't change the point. They need to sort it out. It looks like Leonardo is now staying, even though it looks like he was going to go. So who knows what's going on there?
Could you imagine this PSG side without? And I know this is a weird one, but could you imagine this PSG side without Mbappe's output? They don't. Messi and Neymar. It's crazy to sit here and say that a team with Messi and Neymar in have like little to no goal scoring output, and that's just a sign of me getting old, I think. But Mbappe is the main man there now, and I don't think they can replace his goals.
He's an irreplaceable player.
He is. Yeah. It's crazy to say that he is the main man out of Frankfurt.
Well, he is. He's the best player at PSG. That's fact.
Yeah. Well, he's the one player who's not that Neymar and Messi aren't adaptable players. Obviously, in their younger stages, you can play them absolutely anywhere. But I think Mbappe, because of his age, he fully just can play the left, the right, through the middle. He's so complete in every facet. Once again, I'm not saying Neymar and Messi can't. But as I said, they're both the same sort of profile. Both want to receive the ball and drive at players and such. And maybe if Mbappe left, they could reorganize Neymar and Mbappe and Messi's roles.
Maybe they're better for it.
Yeah, maybe go for like a false nine type thing and then get the best out of both of them, or have Neymar plays like
they need a good head coach first, though.
Yeah, it doesn't feel like I know what they're doing at any point with that, to be fair.
Yeah, for sure. But yeah, we'll just move on from that. We've got one more topic to sort of talk about before we reveal the answer to the quiz, and that is about the two new promoted sides to the Premier League. Obviously, we're going to automatically promoted sides from the Championship. I've seen a lot of people on Twitter moaning that it's boring. I don't really get that. I think they're there on merit. They've earned the right to be in the Premier League. But what I want to talk about is, obviously, we are seeing a lot of yo-yoing at the moment. Are either of these teams, Fulham and Bournemouth, by the way, if anyone who doesn't know, are either of these teams going to stay on next season?
Fulham are definitely staying up. But they've scored what? They've scored over 100 goals this season.
They beat Luton 7-0. I was
Mitrovic just scored 43 in the league. Like
he has 50 direct goal involvements. This is
how many
players from a few years ago.
I'm getting the
No, but last time Mitrovic played,
I'm sure Mitrovic banged in like 30 goals last
got
time.
Benched after the season.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. He never really had that faith.
And then in the Prem, he was average, below average even.
All right. If you're so convinced Fulham are staying up, how many of their players right now are gonna bang in the Prem? Not bang, but be good enough.
I think Mitrovic is gonna have a good season. I think Harry Wilson's more than good enough. I think he's shown it with Bournemouth. I think he could be a useful player at this level.
Yeah, all right. I think I can deal with that.
Tosin. They need a centre back because they can't play Tim Ream.
Yeah.
I think
They need a keeper.
They've got Anguissa coming back, who will play if they're in the Premier League. If not, they're going to make money off him and sign someone. And I think, obviously they're going to spend a lot of money, but they've got useful players, man. They've got useful players across the board. Kenny Tete wasn't too bad. I don't know if they're going to sign Nico Williams, who I think will do a job for them. They've still got players. Obviously, they're losing Carvalho, which is bad, but then they've still got that Manuel Solomon coming in as well.
That's a good signing.
They are a weird team to predict, but I think there's way too much there. There's way too much talent in that team for them to go back down. They are more talented than some of the teams in the Premier League right now, and that's
like
fact.
who? Like who?
They beat Everton tomorrow. They beat Norwich tomorrow. They beat Watford tomorrow.
Yeah, but Watford, Norwich, and Everton are going down in there.
Yeah, but they're significantly better in my opinion.
They all deserve to go down.
Than Brentford, definitely.
I
guarantee you, Brentford will finish above Fulham next season.
Yeah, Brentford will finish above. Fulham will finish above Brentford next season.
I don't know. Let us know what you think of that.
Bold.
Brentford. I don't know, but Brentford took to the Prem so well though, and I do think they might get relegated.
Second season set syndrome.
They might get relegated next season. I mean, it might be Brentford 18th and Fulham 19th, but we'll see how the recruitment goes. But we'll talk about Bournemouth, and then we just want to quick word on like the parachute payments thing. Bournemouth, I've watched a few of their games recently. They're a good team to watch, and their team for the Championship is a joke. However, don't know.
Can beat Bournemouth though.
It's hard to say. It's hard to say in May though, isn't it? Because like we were saying about parachute payments, it's the most expensive game. Like the playoff final is meant to be the most expensive game in world football. These teams are going to probably spend £100 million each. And you've got two good young coaches in Scott Parker and Marco Silva coming up. And I know we're not trying to talk about Fulham, but there's Premier League quality. There's Premier League quality players in this Bournemouth side, and I think if they can get three or four good signings, then I don't see why not. But the team right now, it doesn't stay up, in my opinion. Like, and Nat Phillips is, he's got in and done bits for him, but he's only on loan. How good is he? No one really actually knows. They've got a few good goal scorers, but how many is Kiefer Moore going to score in the Premier League?
Kiefer Moore will go back on loan to Championship. It is straight away or in January.
Yeah.
How many goals is Solanke?
It's so hard to tell because they've matured a lot. A lot of their players have had time to mature. Like Stanislas is a lot older now. He's at 30. Like Solanke's, taken to the Championship, and he's actually scoring goals now.
I think Solanke could do all right.
Yeah, how well was he going to adapt? And obviously, great news coming out this week about David Brooks. Like he's a player. Like he's an actual really, really good player who could really help them next year. Hoping all goes well for him. Like they have a talented squad. I would argue Fulham's squad's more talented, but Philip Billing, he's done it. He's played in the Premier League level. Jefferson Lerma, yeah. And I don't know, but it's so tough because they have a lot of young players as well. Ethan Laird on loan from Man United, Jordan Zamora, Jadon Anthony, Gavin, is it Kilkenny, the Irish midfielder? Who knows how they're going to play next season and how they're going to take, but it wouldn't surprise me to see them go down. And I appreciate that's not a hot take, but I think Fulham will stay up and they'll go down, to be honest. Anyway. Just
what I want to speak about though is like the gap between the Premier League and the Championship right now is absolutely it's a chasm. Because what I just said about Bournemouth's team for the Championship is unbelievable. Like seriously. And you can tell watching them play because they've got better players in every position than most other teams in the league. But then you like I just said, you look at the Premier League and even if they spend 50 million, I don't see how that team stays in the division. And it's because these teams are getting these parachute payments going down, and then they're able to spend the bit. But then if we go down, it's not the end of the world. We're going to get another 100 million and then go again. So again, the gap between the teams at the top of the Championship is the teams in mid-table, and that's why it has been good this season to see the likes of Luton, Huddersfield, Nottingham Forest being able to be up there because usually it's just the same old teams. But I see both sides of the argument because West Brom have struggled massively this season. They had the same parachute payments as everyone else, so I don't really know.
I know they didn't go up or down, but I think comparing Bournemouth and Fulham to the rest of the teams in that league, like you said, they are better in every position. I think that's obviously the bottom. What if Watford plays Huddersfield tomorrow? With all due respect to Huddersfield, they're much better. Look at Luton. Luton don't touch on Watford's side here, but then I would argue if Fulham or Bournemouth do. Just look at Barnsley from last year. a coach that didn't even last 6-7 months at West Brom. He's now gone. He had them in the playoff spot. And can you imagine if a team like Barnsley or Luton got promoted to the Premier League and spent £50 million? I'm sorry, that there's no way they stay up. No way.
Yeah, but it's a game changer though, isn't it? For a team like Luton, if Luton got promoted, like Luton's story is incredible, by the way. Like, if you haven't read into it, watch documentaries, it's incredible. But you know, their record signing, I don't know the exact figure, but it's definitely not more than £5 million. And then you go up, and then even if you get relegated, you've got 100 odd million, and then that's just sets you up so well for the future. Like, you know, when Bournemouth first went up, they come from League Two. At the start of that season, they were nowhere near a team looking to get promoted, but then they went up, stayed up for a while, and then now they'll, unless they have ownership issues, because of these parachute payments, they will never, struggle again, really.
Could you not argue on the other end of the spectrum though? Like, there's a team like Sunderland who could come back up, sign players for ridiculous amounts of money, can't afford them, go into like financial turmoil in the Championship, can't afford their players, lose them on frees.
They manage the money terribly though.
Right back down. That's poor financial management, isn't it? But,
it's clubs who can't manage the money. There's clubs who definitely can't manage the money. Sunderland
have players in the Championship on like £60,000-70,000 a week.
Yeah, they spend ridiculous wages, and you just saw the financial record just go down, and just
But then that's why a team like Everton would be in trouble, because their squad isn't cut out to be in the Championship. Like, if you're like Norwich, Watford, you sort of know there's a possibility you might go down, so they won't spend silly amounts, because if they do go down, they will handle the Championship.
Yeah.
But like Sunderland were in the same boat as Everton were in that sense.
Yeah, I saw just quickly on this. I saw something the other day saying the best thing that could happen to Everton is them getting relegated and restarting. And from a financial point of view, I've never heard anything so stupid. The money they have the players on, it's ludicrous. Can you imagine? And obviously they have to sell certain players, but their wage bill is almost as big as ours. They're a very, very, very rich club, and they've got Richarlison's probably on more than £100,000 a week. Calvert-Lewin, Damari Gray, Townsend, Sigurdsson. I don't know if he's still getting paid, but you know what I mean. A lot of these players, they're on ridiculous amounts. It would be the worst thing. Like they are in the worst situation to get relegated.
They never even considered the possibility of going down. I think the top six and Everton are the only clubs in the league that don't consider the possibility of going down. All the other clubs, if they were to go down, I mean, Newcastle as well, obviously now, but the other 12 clubs, if they were to go down, their squads can handle the financial difficulties of going down and losing so much money. And I suppose that's why the parachute payments are there. But just think you've sort of got to find a middle ground. I don't really know where I stand on it, but I thought it was worth bringing up. But that is all we've got time for on that. It's time for the answers of the quiz. So, Demir, if you could just quickly tot up the answers and points from us and let the audience know what the answers were.
So, in last place, we have... shall we do answers actually first?
Yeah, go on.
Okay. So, for the first question, the question was who had the highest scoring tie in aggregate. And it was Bayern Munich and Sporting in the round of 16, 12-1 in aggregate for Bayern Munich. And none of you guys got the correct answer, but you did get round of 16 correct, so I gave you all a point.
Same answer?
No, Matt and Ethan, you had the same answer. Tay, you just said 8-7 and called it a day.
So this is Dale.
For the second question, you all got right. Borussia Dortmund. That was easy. Third question, Tay actually got. There was 3 points up for grabs. Tay got 2, which was the most scored on this question. The answer was the question was who were the winners? Who was the winner in last year's Champions League final for women's, which was Barcelona. You all got that. None of you got who was so only Tay got Lyon, who are the team who has the most amount of.
I said that. I called that as well.
It was either Wolfsburg, Lyon, or Barca. I couldn't remember which one.
And Tay didn't. None of you guys got the amount, which was 7. Okay. The fourth question. When was the last time Ronaldo failed to reach 20 league goals? I think, Tay and Ethan, you got the year. Ethan got the amount as well. So
no, you didn't.
It was
You're
18 goals.
What?
18 goals in the 08-09 season.
I saw it the other day. That's what I saw.
Matt, unfortunately, didn't get any.
Blanked.
And for the last question, I don't think anyone. Wait, did anyone get this? Nah.
I couldn't think of a player, to be honest, who even like in contention.
I don't know even how to pronounce the name of people. Mikel Landville or something like that, with 608 appearances.
Ooh, I think I said
They drafted. Yeah.
If anybody got that down
put
below,
I said Anthony Lopez. I was like,
I
God knows.
couldn't even think of a guess, honestly. Like,
honestly, that was a hard question. That was me venting from last week's. So adding up the scores.
Who's come out?
I think I'm last, to be honest.
Adding up the scores, Matt.
Probably by far.
Yeah, Matt last with 2 points.
Proper questions. We're not having it like the other week. This guy's asking about some player I've never heard of in my life. I'm not, that's what I'm saying.
Fair play. The winner of this week's pods goes to Ethan. Boo. No, well played. Ethan got 5, and Tay was close with 4.
How many did I get? 5.
Ethan got 5. Tay got 4.
You beat me by 1 every week. 18 goals. How do you know that?
Hey, he's moving like Real Madrid at this point.
What, the Ronaldo?
You wanted the Ronaldo goals.
I thought I was smart because I got the year. You got the goals as well.
I didn't even give a year. I just said like his standout season.
I got the respect. I got the women's football one right.
United, God knows what year.
That is impressive.
Well done, Ethan. We're all so proud of you.
Well,
cheers, lads.
What a sad little life you live.
The cheeky you. Anyway, that does draw this show to the end. Again, thank you very much for listening. We really do appreciate all the support we're getting on this. We're loving recording them, and we appreciate that so many of you guys tune in and listen as well. So yeah, thank you very much as always. I won't list all the social medias, but the main ones: Twitter at TM4Pod. So check us out there, and you can find all our other links in there to all our other socials. And again, if you're watching on YouTube, you can listen on Spotify and vice versa as well. They're the 2 main platforms that the 4Pod goes on, and the rest is sort of centered around clips and stuff. So yeah, we appreciate you guys checking all that out. So yeah, that's about all we've got time for. So thanks very much for tuning in as always. Hope you guys all take care. Pleasure to have you on as always, and we'll see you in the next one.